Hey, you're listening to Fat and Greasy Citizens, a podcast about Shakespeare. I'm Fat.
And I'm Greasy. Every week we do a deep dive into every act of every Shakespeare play ever written, mostly while drinking.
More specifically, I'm Chuck. I'm a former English major and now a digital editor who cares a lot about Shakespeare.
And I'm Gabe. Let's do it!
Hail and well met, mine uncle heads. It is us, Elizabeth A. the Erstfey, coming at ya from the other side. We would love to say this episode of Fat and Greasy Citizens is a special Halloween episode. So we will, because it kind of is, considering it's about Acts 4 and 5 of The Merchant of Venice, in which Shylock goes to court and somehow loses his case because he is crushed by a loophole that Portia, dressed as a man who is both a doctor and a lawyer, introduces into the proceedings at the last minute. So it involves costumes and the abject oppressive horror of rampant antisemitism. It really is the spooky season. Enjoy.
Opening a beer? Because Jesus Christ.
I'm enjoying the finest cheap wine.
Sir, of your cheap wines, what would
Can
you
I get
recommend in a box?
That's exactly what I'm doing.
I'd like it to not have pulp in it, but anything above that level. Your cheap.
I would like when I twist the knob that the pressure coming out of the wine is stronger than my water pressure in my shower. That's what I want. That's what I like.
I want the cardboard in the box to be cheap, so it's like a Capri Sun that I can just squeeze into a glass across the room.
That is all it is. You know, one thing that my friend Paul did at his wedding that I think was sheer genius was rather than bring bottles and bottles and bottles of alcohol for the after party in the hotel rooms, he just brought a bunch of bladders of booze. He just had all these bladders of various liquors, and it was genius. It worked. They all fit in suitcases. It saved a tremendous amount of room.
And so I can't quite imagine what a bladder looks like. Is it a drink full, or is it like 40 drinks full, or what do you do?
It's like he took a fifth of Jack Daniel's, say, and then I guess he bought these like travel bladders that I guess like campers use.
Oh, and they have nozzles on them, and they're just kind of
yeah. So like he almost like hot water bottles full of booze. Like it was just a bunch of those. It was genius, and he had them all labeled. It was very cute.
It sounds like something out of a Christopher Nolan film, like in Inception, like someone being passed out. You'll just pull out a bladder of bourbon.
Yeah. Don't believe his lies.
Also, if it's your wedding, you take the labels away. You can give everyone well drinks and just tell them it's Woodford Reserve. No one knows what the fuck they're drinking. So.
This doesn't taste like Bullet.
Well, you don't know shit then, do you? You shut up.
This doesn't taste like it does. There's a taste of Jack Daniel's sometimes, and I trying to. It's like
ass.
Yeah, there's like a little ass in there.
Like a raccoon's ass.
Like it just at the end. Just at the end, just a little ass.
It's oaky. It's oaky ass, like the ass of an oak.
Oh yeah, like the ass of something that spends time outside, not your city ass.
Listen, this is like Budweiser commercial ass. This isn't. Oh, I'd rather talk about ass and mouth for an hour than
these two acts. You know what's funny is as I was reading
nothing in this act.
Yeah, absolutely zero. And I love the fact that by Act 5, Lancelot has completely given up any kind of sense of a clown character. Like he does do kind of like a hello boo boo, but like beyond that, he's no longer trying to do jokes. Because I think even that character is like, this is dark. like this is too dark for me.
We are the Parliament.
But I was like, as I was reading Act 4, which is where all the shit goes down, I was like, I feel really uncomfortable right now. And I think the last time I felt this uncomfortable reading something was like the letter that serial killer Albert Fish
sent to the mother of this little girl that he like dismembered. Like like that's the last time I felt that kind of like, oh, this is awful. I feel awful reading this.
I was reading the newspaper this morning because I'm an old, and there was an article mentioning the debate around cancel culture, and then I read this, and I was like, see, but this is a good case for it because I don't know that anyone should say it's illegal to put on this play. We've talked about ways you could salvage a play through certain productions. I'm fine with no one ever being assigned this play again. I'm fine if no individual ever decides to put this play on again. Everyone should have the right to put this play on, but if every single person who ever thought to put a play on in the 21st century and beyond looked at this text and said, no, I think that'd be fine for the culture.
It's well, what's funny about the cancel culture, I actually wrote down cancel culture too in regards to the action of the scene, because I feel like it's a little cancel culture-y. Like all the Christians are kind of like, well, you can't do that. We get to be as awful as we want to all the time. Why do I have to pay for me being an asshole? You know, like it reminded me a lot of what you hear right now. It's like, well, I should be allowed to do whatever I want, right? And it's like, no, in fact, we're not only are we going to say no, but we're going to ignore you for a while. Cancel culture. It's like, no, you asked for it, man. You can't behave any way you like and then not expect repercussions. And like this
except apparently you can.
Except for this scene in which
in 16th century
it's 100% you can get away with it. Yeah. With all like secret laws and stuff. That we'll get into it in a second, but anyway, this scene is these two scenes are ridiculous.
The meat of the nightmare takes place in court. Coming up to this, we knew that Shylock had the goods on Antonio being the titular merchant of Venice, who had no redeeming qualities coming into these two acts. We're going to do acts 4 and 5 because Act 5 is kind of tacked on, and Act 4 is so irredeemable that I think it'd be painful for both of us to do Act 5 after this and say, what did we think of this tacked on scene with a wedding in it?
Yeah, there would be no reason to address it. Like, because you're so horrified by Act 4, it'd be like, who gives a shit about any of this?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
It's like the Snyder cut of Justice League. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Why would I watch an extra half an hour of that? But imagine if the Snyder cut was just racial epithets. It's just like, did you not like Batman's characterization before? Well, guess what?
He called Superman a Jew.
Every single member of the Justice League has a specific racial hatred. You got to tune in and see who Wonder Woman hates.
My money's on Northern Africans. I don't know.
It's it's a giant scene, Act 4, Scene 1, and it all.
They're both pretty big. They're almost the same size, but Act 5 is absolute bullshit fluff, and Act 4 is just
a goddamn Kafka-esque nightmare. So
yeah, it's like if Tucker Carlson was a scene in a Shakespeare. You know, it's like extreme.
Tucker Carlson wasn't a Shakespeare scene.
Was a Shakespeare scene. Just.
Oh, yeah, Tucker Carlson could either be the Duke or Portia, but essentially the plot is that Shylock has the law behind him, and he seems dead set on getting a pound of flesh from Antonio, which I think you could interpret him as him being too vengeful, but at the same time, Antonio is such a useless prick, and we don't know if he's going to go all the way through it. For all we know as an audience, he's just trying to scare the living shit out of him and get his jollies out of that. But the entire court scene just kind of gets flipped around and makes a victim of Shylock.
Though it doesn't start great when the Duke refers to Shylock as an inhuman wretch. Like right away, you're like, okay, so maybe this is not gonna end well for Shylock, because the judge, essentially the judge guy. Is already like, oh, the awful Jew is coming. It's like like already we know that the chips are stacked against Shylock. We know that. We can assume that.
There was this thing I read. I went to a school in the South and I got an English degree, and I took a class on Faulkner. And so you read Faulkner, hear the N word a lot. And there was one point, just like reading through lots and lots of pages, I realized I could squint. And because of the shape of the N word, you can like make it out across the 2 pages you're looking at. It's like, oh, 2 lowercase g's, 2 lowercase g's. And
Stepping stones.
they call Shylock so rarely in this, and so often just Jew or the Jew, that the first time I read it, it washed over me. But Gratiano is the worst of all these people in my estimation, or at least the most loathsome. And I noticed that he, every time he speaks, addresses him as Jew or the Jew. And then I looked back and saw Portia, almost every time she talks, she mentions him as the Jew. Like everyone, you usually know who they're talking to, but they go out of their way to not say Shylock's name and say, so, Jew. It's bad every time you see it, but it was somehow even worse for me when I looked back and said, oh, there's really no need. Like, this is 7 people yelling at one guy, and they all continually address him in this way. It's hard to read, and it's one of those things that I have to think would be 1,000 times worse to see on stage, to just see people saying that again and again.
And how do you do it, right? Like, how do you? We talked a little bit about this, because I have never seen the Pacino version, and I even at that late date, how do you navigate this scene, which is, especially unless you cut the Act 5, unless you cut Act 5, I could see like ending on this scene and making it a comment on bigotry and the effects, how quickly, even in the face of the law, how quickly someone who is a minority in this environment, how quickly their luck can change, or the reality of it can change. Like I can see you doing it in an ironic way to make it to make that point, but how can you?
It's also, so obviously we'll go through the plot, but Shylock disappears in the same way that Kate disappears in Shrew. And so you have to find some way, if you're going to actually do a production, you'd have to find some way to reconcile that your alleged protagonist, like, their lines just shrink and shrink, and then they pretty much give up on life, and that's where it ends. There's no Shylock at the beginning of this scene, and through most of this scene, like, his dialogue crackles in the same way we were talking last time. And I realized that, like, his dialogue before he's beaten, it sounds like Mamet or something else, where, like, he's just making really good, clear points, and you don't understand exactly what he's saying. And, like, there's 4 people arguing with him, and he knocks one down, he knocks the other one down. He says to a third, I'm not engaging with you because you don't matter. So I'm here to argue the law. You've got nothing on me. And it works great in, like, a Mamet, Tarantino, or whatever scene where there's just, like, no subtext, but it's great lightning dialogue back and forth. And by the end, he's just got the shit kicked out of him by the law. And he's just,
by some magical bullshit law that comes out of nowhere, that if you, like, honestly, we'll get to it when it comes up, but it's like, how does Shylock, who seems pretty knowledgeable about how the system works and how to work that system, how does he not know this, like, this
rule,
loophole?
this rule that says the law doesn't apply to people who aren't white people from Venice?
Like how would he not know that? Like, that's preposterous. Anyway,
and I thought also, how would the Duke not know it? Because that's one of the reasons that I landed on, like, you can't produce this play, because it's just delighted in its own self a bit too much. All right, let's try and plow through the awfulness of the plot. So
Antonio's being at the beginning is being a passive aggressive bitch the whole time. He says he has armed to suffer with a quietness of spirit, the very tyranny and rage of his. It's like, I'm just going to sit over here and be quiet because I know he's such a monster. And it's like, get the fuck out of here. People like this guy. People like this guy.
It's like when Spinal Tap says, like, the cover could be None More Black. That's him talking about being quiet. He's like, I'm going to be so quiet and so meek. I'll be the meekest person the king of meekness. I'll be compared to him who's trash. I won't say a bad word about it. He's the devil, and I'll be here Christ-like in my meekness, just doing
Yes.
nothing. All I want is for my friend Bassanio to come and watch me die on his behalf. Because
Yes.
I love him. He says to, when Bassanio arrives, he says to Bassanio, I just hope that someday your new wife knows how much I love you, and then perhaps she can guess if you were ever loved. It's just like, fuck, dude.
What are you talking about?
You are the biggest goddamn drama queen.
Yeah, so he is kind of like giving up by not giving up, really. Just like if you call somebody a monster Jew,
Yeah.
you know, and you don't have to say much because the Duke already is on your side. You know that because he called Shylock an inhuman wretch. So
Yeah, and
it's like, I'm gonna stand over here and be quiet while this monster goes on. You know, I'll suffer quietly over here.
And from the beginning, the Duke, as we've seen throughout, the Duke raises the stakes for Shylock. So Shylock comes in telling everyone he won't take any money. He won't even take 3 times the debt. He wants to cut a pound of flesh off Antonio. And the Duke comes in and says, the law's entirely on your side. That said, we all assume you're going to be cool. You're going to forgive not only like the interest on his debt, but you're going to forgive part of the principal on his debt. That's what we all assume. We assume you're just playing coy, but that's what you're going to do. So out of the gate, like, they're already trying to box Shylock in and just say, like, yes, you have quote unquote the legal right to your debt, but we all assume that you're going to give not only just let the guy off and not die, but that we assume that you will give money back to the guy. The guy should get back more money than you loaned to his friend that he vouched for. And he makes no argument why, except for Antonio's also in debt to Turks and Tartars. And
Right.
Those guys can't understand why a Christian guy like Antonio can't pay off his debts. And so we assume that you'll take pity on a white man who's currently in debt to Turks and Tartars. Surprisingly
Because
enough,
he's white. He's
yeah.
white.
This does not win Shylock over. And he just starts to he knocks down all of the arguments therein. Like Shylock has this great soliloquy straight out of, so basically the Duke makes that soliloquy, and then Shylock has a little soliloquy that I really like because first of all it says, so I'm not going to tell you why I want a pound of flesh. I don't have to, because all the time men take out their rage or discomfort or their frustration on animals or things. If you have a rat in your house, you might kill it. You might just not like cats, and in our society you're allowed to abuse a cat. You might not like bagpipes. They make you piss your pants and you may get angry.
Which seemed like a strange departure there from the list of things that he was doing. But yeah.
It did.
Yes.
It almost sounded like a weird stand-up thing where it's just like, maybe fucking bagpipes make you piss your pants. But what I like here is on the surface, he's saying we usually give men the rights to choose where they get frustrated about things and have freedom to execute things within the law. But he's also talking about places where the Duke and other white people think they have the right to do whatever the fuck they want. And they're talking mostly about killing animals or things that are too stupid to understand. And what he's actually saying there, arguably, is that this is how you guys treat people of my faith. You think it's fine to treat us like shit because we annoy you. At the soul of it, all I ever did to Antonio was annoy him. And in this society, apparently, if a guy finds another guy annoying, or a guy finds another bat annoying or bagpipes annoying, and they're white and they have power, they're allowed to do whatever they want to do. And they don't have to justify it. So I'm not going to justify it. And
it's a great analogy because he himself is referred to as an animal throughout the entire play.
And Antonio comes back right away and he goes to Bassanio. He's like, don't even try and talk to this guy. He's an animal. You might as well yell at the surf to not make waves. You might as well yell at the trees. And it's literally like 3 lines after Shylock's like, yeah, some guys just like want to yell at the trees and yell at the surf. And it's weird.
Yeah.
Some people just act that way, Antonio. What do you think of that? And Antonio, he blames it again on like, let's see, the hardness of his Jewish heart.
Right.
And Antonio and Shylock are getting into this place where they've both got their backs up, but neither one wants to back down. And but Shylock is clearly the smarter one overall. And I don't know, just like so Bassanio, Antonio, the Duke, Celerio, there's like 4 people in the room going at Shylock, and he just knocks each of them down one at a time. And then Shylock, and just completely sweeps the leg on the entire room. And he's like, and just to be clear, you all of you that are arguing with me, you all own slaves, right?
Such a KO in my opinion. Like,
and you guys beat the shit out of your slaves, right? So just to be clear, should they be free? Should they marry your daughters? And no one even engages with it.
No.
Like, well, on another subject, like it's just
yeah,
it's like complete. You're right. It's a complete KO. It's like the end of the fight. If it was debate, it'd just be like, well, shut up, give him his money, cut his heart out.
And that's the thing is because the white Christians in the room have made it a religious argument. Like they start from the point where like, yes, you are completely legally in your bounds to take the pound of flesh, but the Christian thing to do would be to forgive and to show some mercy. And then like as Shylock picks that apart, right, he like their argument becomes weaker and weaker. They just keep saying like, but it's Christian, and he's like, no man, I'm talking about the law here. I'm talking about the law, that the contract that I wrote, that stupid over here signed, and I can show you the signature. The signature is there.
It says stupid. He signed it.
It literally. Oh, that. By the way, I love the fact that Antonio later on says, "I am dumb," but like he means it in like I'm speechless. But
right.
like the idea that he. And I was like, he admitted.
That's good stage direction though, to be like, no, I want you to get across.
I am dumb. but like the Christian argument here, the Christians in the room, their argument is just, you're an animal and a monster and you have no heart, which is it has no foundation in any kind of logic. And Shylock is coming back with, no, I'm talking about the law here, and he says it a couple times.
Right, and he's just like,
I'm on the side of the law.
I won't try and debate Christian charity with you all because y'all are full of shit. But that's in his head. Like we see his wheels turning, and like, I'm not going to debate Christian charity with you. Like that's dumb. You know you're hypocrites. I know you're a hypocrite. But if I get into a word debate with you about whether or not you're being hypocritical, I'll lose. So whenever someone tries to bring it up, he's like, that's not germane to the law. My argument's not with you. Moving on. Once again, Dum Dum signed a thing that said Dum Dum's going to die. So if I want to kill Dum Dum, I can. And that's
and the slave thing is kind of like, how's that that's your Christian mercy?
Yeah.
By the way, just wanted to put that out there if we're going to still talk about that. Oh, anyway, let's get back to Dum Dum.
And like, I think there's a way that like Shylock's motivation here could be, I think like you could do this scene and have him keep his dignity throughout and have him just be arguing the point that he has the right to take the law as far as he wants to. You don't have to know if he's ever actually going to cut this guy's heart out or not, but what he is trying to prove the point is that like, you guys can't talk me out of what is actually owed me by the law, because you wouldn't try and do this to anyone else. So I'm going to come in and try and prove the point that I can actually be equal before the law.
And that we talk about whether or not this should be done today. Like, I mean, that's just the scene as kind of like an analysis of law and who it actually protects and all that stuff. I mean, would be a great, if you focus just on the scene, because again, it's like the law is the law, right?
Right.
But unless the law isn't favoring the class that the law is biased toward, right? So it's like, it's almost like this could be happening right now. This could have been like a Black Lives Matters scene where it's like, well, the law is supposed to be the law, right? But you don't seem to agree with it now because I am who I am and you are who you are. If this were flipped, right? If I'm the one who owed Antonio money, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
Right. And no one would be coming to my aid.
Right. And Shylock knows it. And he's making the point. He's making it that's his point.
And it's beautiful that, like, to a certain degree, like, because of Antonio, like, Antonio, because of his, like, Antonio literally can't fathom life outside the country club. And so he reminds me of, like, we were talking about last time how I wish they'd, like, actually get to the Saw part, because, like, Antonio can't get out of his mind that all he wants to do is be mutilated in front of his friend Bassanio, friend/lover Bassanio, so he can see him do it. But I can't quite nail the character, but there's various characters in fiction where, like, they're so ready for war, they're so ready to sacrifice themselves, and the first time, like, they get a cut on their pinky, they're like, ah,
I'm out.
they just and that's Antonio. Like, he's sitting here bemoaning his fate, and he just wants his boyfriend to see him sacrifice himself. And the minute he gets just a nick, you know, he's just gonna wet himself and just beg for mercy. And that's probably where everything would have ended. Like, Shylock would have been like, okay, you've humiliated yourself. That's all I wanted. We're good. Your friends saw you poop yourself. We have it on record. You pooped yourself. So I think we're good now.
No Shakespearean flourish to it at all. It's just he shat himself.
And then he shat himself.
There was no, like, he did brown his pantaloons with the berries of yore.
Almost as awful as them constantly referring to Shylock as the Jew is they each also keep insinuating that he envies Antonio. And it's an accusation with, like, it's one of those, it's like some stereotypes where it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, there's envy has never come up in any way. There's no reason to argue that he envies this guy. It's clearly like he hates him because he's an asshole. But I think Gratiano suggests it. I know Antonio suggests it, and they're just like, oh, he just wants to see him dead because he envies him so much. He just wants everything he has, and just like, no, he's been a really rational guy throughout this.
Yeah, and again, he's told you why. Like, that's the thing. It's like he said to your face, I'm basically doing this because of the way you treat me in public. That's the end of, like, he's told you why he's doing it. It has nothing to do with envy. It's like these fucking guys don't, you know, they can't possibly accept that. Well, first of all, they come from, well, everybody should envy us because we're wealthy and
It's some serious, like, war on terror type stuff. Like, they hate our freedom type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do they do it? Because they hate our freedom. Well, if by freedom you mean our freedom to, you know, destroy their governments and bomb them, then maybe yes. But
occupy their countries and et cetera, et cetera.
It could be that they don't stay up nights thinking, I hate that they have free internet, and so we must launch an attack. It might be that that's not the linear goal they had in mind. Was that I want them to not be able to choose between hot dogs and hamburgers. Like,
by the way, that is our only true freedom in America, is whether or not we're going to have hot dogs or hamburgers.
I actually have to credit that to John Mellencamp. It's one of my favorite lyrics he has ever. It's this song with kind of a problematic scene with him and a young Native American woman, but then he talks about growing up and now everyone's got their choice between hot dogs and hamburgers, and it's just like, see, we did it. We're America. Got the best choice possible. And it's a really good song, and sometimes people play it unironically on the 4th of July, and it pains me. So Portia has left Belmont with Nerissa and Shakespeare's.
Not the racetrack, by the way.
Yes, sadly no.
Maybe it is.
They both left. Is Belmont in Long Island?
I think it's either that or just on the, like, what do you call it? Like near the Bronx somewhere.
That would be an inspired production if you just put the background of, like, the Bronx. Meanwhile, in Belmont.
Maybe it is in Long Island. I can't remember.
Portia and Narissa are dressed up like dudes. Portia is supposed to be a doctor who is a lawyer, but they refer to a lawyer as doctor throughout, and Narissa is supposed to be his
And she's
first
not
assistant.
the Jewish one. Hey,
I think I goosh.
those Jewish jokes. She's a doctor and a lawyer. She's a credit to her race.
And a lady. Whoa.
Hey.
Some kind of. All right. I don't know what that was. So she's acting like this super lawyer who's come in to. Everyone knows that they're coming in to try and find some solution for Antonio. First of all, even if this wasn't a sham, it would be odd that someone gets to hire Johnny Cochran and Shylock is representing himself. Like, first of all, even if this was on level, which it's not, it's a complete scam against Shylock. But even so, the Duke is just like, I wish I could find the best lawyer on the planet to go and come get this guy off. Again, because he's white. And that person shows up. Portia, as far as we know, has no particular talent with law. So
yeah, all of a sudden she's Matlock over, Matlock?
Or she's making this.
Is he a lawyer? yeah.
But like, we don't know. Importantly, we don't know if. So we think there is actually a Dr. Bellario who is brilliant, but we don't know if she's making this shit up or if these are things that like actually Dr. Bellario told her. But she's acting like king lawyer, kind of like pacing the courtroom, and she asks, like, just as an example of how Antonio has to like get his little fucking digs in. So first of all, she asks Shylock, is your name Shylock? And Shylock says, Shylock is my name. After that, she never says his name again. She addresses him as Jew thereafter.
Jew.
And then she turns to Antonio and she says, you stand within his danger, do you not? Meaning that you're in danger from Shylock. And Antonio says, aye. So he says, it's just like, no, the fucking Duke of Venice just admitted that he's got you fucking dead to rights.
Yeah, says
And
the
even
guy
at
in the
that-
beginning. Yeah.
And
The
Antonio's
guy in the
like,
beginning was like, I'm just going to sit over here quietly because I know I did it.
but yes, as soon as someone else walks in, according to fucking this guy, who I don't know if you heard, is a J-E-W.
J-E-W. That's the Jello theme song. Jingle.
And Portia proceeds to act like everything's going to go perfect for Shylock and walk through how essentially Antonio has no hope. He has no way out, and essentially get Shylock's hopes up overall. As part of that, she lectures Shylock about Christian charity. She does the famous quote about the quality of mercy is not strained, which I had to Google because like it doesn't work as an English phrase in my head. And what it means is you can't force someone to show mercy, which isn't true. For starters, they kind of do that in this act. And it also, I don't know, I'm kind of curious about how that phrase became famous because it doesn't seem true. It doesn't seem particularly enlightening. I don't know. Like when I've heard that in songs. I've heard it's one of the Shakespeare's that just gets passed around. And like the green eye of envy, like that feels universal to me. But both in like its clunkiness and everything else, I'm kind of surprised that that's a phrase that has legs because it just doesn't seem to add up too much to me.
Yeah, especially in the fiction, I don't know, in the fiction that I've consumed in my life, it seems like mercy is almost always forced.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's like the guy's about to stab his enemy and then he looks over and his daughter is looking at him and he's like, oh, I guess I'm not going to stab this guy. Like, it seems like that forced mercy happens a lot, you know, in just the common human culture, you know, like, again, because I think this is so Christian heavy.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's, that's what it is like I honestly don't know as many references to this line as you do. So
okay.
I'm curious to know like what kind of songs are.
Well, it comes up in I think in the movie Dead Man Walking. It comes up in a song in Dead Man Walking, and it's just something I've heard passed around a good bit. But from a procedural point of view, she expounds on this and says, like, mercy is the greatest thing in the world, and it's the best thing when a great man gives mercy because it makes him better and it reflects well on the people below him. It's, as she puts it in Christian terms, and essentially is kind of like talking up the courtroom as if like this is Shylock's big chance to be the bigger man and not get his bond. And he says, no, I want my bond. And she says, okay, well then, you can have whatever you want. And she basically gets him into a place where he's about ready to cut a pound of flesh off Antonio. They make clear that it needs to be closest to his heart, so can't be an ass cheek, can't be a love handle. This will kill him. She says to him, it gets really gross, and as we discussed, like Saw-like, she asks, do you have one of those old-timey scales with the balance on it? And so they'll just put like a pound of rocks on one side, and it'll just be like cutting pieces of bacon off until it's balanced, and that's gross. And
to his credit, he does.
Yeah.
he
like,
says,
oh, yeah.
it's right there. Never leave home without it.
Again, if he was just trying to make Antonio shit his pants, would be perfect. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm ready. This is real. Bang. Here we go.
And it's accurate too.
I got 20 nickels right here. 1 pound, ready to go. And she says, do you have a surgeon to mop up the blood? And you got to pay for it. And he's like, no, why should I have to have that? And she's like, well, it'd be a good idea. He's like, well, I don't think I will. And then she just flips the script on him and says, okay, go ahead. But if you spill a drop of his blood, then you'll be prosecutable as an alien trying to kill basically a white person.
Yep.
And it's, as we discussed, like, it's absurd that Shylock wouldn't know this. It's absurd that the Duke wouldn't know this. It also doesn't even make sense if she's supposed to be Perry Mason, that she was like, get your surgeon with his mop ready. And then 100 lines later, she's like, but if he bleeds while you're cutting flesh off him, you die. The fact that it doesn't make sense is almost subsumed by the fact of just how shitty and bullying it is. Like, it's impressive that, like, this is a guy who's about to cut another guy to bits in a courtroom in front of other people, and we really feel sorry for him. Like, that's how shitty it is.
Yeah. It really does. Like, it comes out of nowhere. It doesn't. I feel like even if because this is in Venice, right? And I mean, we're going to assume that Shylock is a foreigner because he's from Padua, or is I thought he was from Venice. Didn't this whole thing take place in?
Yeah,
he was in Venice at the beginning.
I think foreigner means
Jewish.
Yeah,
because that's the only way that he could be foreign, right? He lives
it's like that Family Guy meme where it's like white guy is fine and it goes shades and terrorists at the bottom. I think that's what foreigner is. Just like, he's always foreigner.
So like that alone is egregious. Like the idea of like he is foreign by virtue of being Jewish.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's some Stephen Miller shit.
Yeah, and again, like the idea that Shylock, who is obviously very sensitive to how he's spoken to and how people are, how he and his kind are treated, the idea that he wouldn't know that he would be treated like in court as a foreign entity is fucking ridiculous. And like the idea that like, because Portia says something to the effect of, well, it says right here in the contract nothing about blood. Yeah, it doesn't mention anything about cheesecake either. Like, what's your fucking point? Like, you know, like if you bring a cheesecake, then the whole thing is null and void too. What are you talking about?
Some pee came out of him. Pee out of him.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you didn't mention urine in the contract. What is that? What do you mean?
No, it's. I didn't even get to that level. Just how fucking stupid it is to just.
Well, it's like a pound of flesh. It like that presupposes there's going to be some blood. Come on, Portia. Like what are you talking about? Like, oh, you can't bleed, or you're gonna everything's
right. Like she could have just as easily said, blood's not the thing, but it doesn't say here that you can cut his hairs. So if any of his hairs hit the ground, then you're a dead man.
Yeah.
You could just as easily say anything. It doesn't say you can cut the air. It
Right.
doesn't say if he faints, then you're a dead man because you can't make him. Does it say in the contract you can make him faint? Does it say
Right.
it's
It's
not
fucking ridiculous. Like when you get pulled over by a cop, they're not like, oh, well, your rear tail light is out, and also if you have any books in your trunk, you're going to go to jail. That's the law around here. What are you talking about? It's like, well, because it doesn't mention anything about books. It's like the idea that something is not mentioned means that you are the one who's going to be found guilty is so silly to me. Like I can't. As soon as I read that, I couldn't get around it. I said, like that's such a weak argument, and Shylock kind of just accepts it, and like he's like, oh, I guess you got me. It's like, does she?
well. That's
Like,
the thing. It's either it's horrible writing. Well, it's one of three things, and I think we know which it is contemporaneously. But it's either horrible writing, it's racist writing, so everyone in the crowd can go like, "Yeah, stupid! Didn't think of the blood, did you, smart guy?" Like
they never do, those Jews.
It's Jerry Lawler just being like, "Ha ha, came from Hollywood," or if you wanted to do a production modernly, and I don't think you can, but if you did, like that's the point where you realize that you're in front of a racist court, and you're just like, "Oh, well, I got into a semantic debate, and if I get into a semantic debate in this court, I'm fucked. So I just take what they'll give me because I can't, without the benefit of the doubt, there's no way, even though I've demonstrated through showing not telling in the story that I'm smarter than fucking everyone here. Like, they'll just keep doing this. Like, oh, doesn't say blood. Doesn't say, did it say you can do this on Tuesday? Think. Think, Shylock, think.
All of these things are in the books, maybe? I don't know. I'm just making it up. But that's the thing is like,
what
as
about
you
the
said,
law about Thursdays, Shylock? You dummy.
Are you too busy being a Jew? But like, that's the thing is like, as you say, Shylock has clearly proven that he can outsmart anybody in the room. So like more and more I'm thinking like, is this like a revenge fantasy from Shakespeare? Like a smart Jew just getting his comeuppance from some like magical thinking by a bunch of Christian idiots who just like, let's make up something about.
It seems like a lot of those urban myths you see around like characters who are always like vaguely Jewish getting their comeuppance. So like there's the urban myth around that they actually made into a Christian movie about like the 18-year-old student who proves to the philosophy professor that God is real. Like the professor is just like, oh, well, obviously there's no such thing as God. And then some 18-year-old kid who always went to church is just like, well, can you explain why sunshine makes me happy? And the professor
no,
I can't. Damn it! Who has taught you this magic? I learned it from Jesus Christ. And so it has, like we said before, it has elements of WWE. It has elements of that stuff. But yes, it has just like that great desire for simple people to overcome an intelligent person.
Why hasn't, speaking of WWE, why hasn't Vince McMahon jumped on that? Just like an overt. I mean, he must have. Oh yeah, there was Erwin R. Shyster was an.
Are you kidding me?
No, IRS. Erwin R. Shyster was an accountant character in the 90s. No, 80s.
Late 80s. I'm covering my mouth in horror.
So maybe he didn't, but I like the idea of naming a character Shylock wouldn't be beyond him either. I don't think.
Can you imagine Vince McMahon being like, "I love it. It's too far."
I don't know. We have a lot of Jewish viewers. Shylock.
Tone it down a bit. Give me a
Erwin R. Shyster, an accountant.
No.
With like Shyster is a Yiddish. That's Yiddish, right? It's very clearly a Jewish character, even though it wasn't played by a Jewish guy.
What? I thought WWE took this kind of stuff seriously. I was told that Nikolai Volkov was shipped over here.
That's going to be the big reveal, is that one day the Iron Sheik is going to say, "I'm from Detroit, guys."
I'm not made of iron either.
And I am also not iron.
In fact, the camel clutch has no origin in Egyptian culture. It's completely made up. So in this right before the scene, I just want to go back really fast because Antonio does again have this scene where he says, "Just tell your wife that you once knew love." So I got to read this.
Yeah. Tell your wife that
he's about to get his fucking skin peeled off in front of a crowd of people, and he says, "Commend me to your honorable wife. Tell her the process of Antonio's end. Say how I loved you. Speak me fair in death. And when the tale is told, bid her to be judge whether Bassanio had not once a love." Like, this is so fucked up that I don't even care to guess what's going on in Bassanio and Antonio's relationship. Like,
I like you too, bro.
I'll tell her.
Yeah, I'll tell her.
And then Bassanio like gets down on his knees and he's just like, I can't remember if it's here or later on. Bassanio's like, I wish I would happily. So again, his wife is in the room. He doesn't know it. He's like, I'd happily, I'd give up my own life for you. And his wife's like, I don't think she'd like to hear that. And then Gratiano, who is Bassanio's deputy, who's married to Portia's deputy, gets down on his knees. And he's like, I wish my wife was already dead so that she could ask for help from heaven. And his wife's just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, Gratiano is the lowest piece of shit here. Like, they're all racist turns, but Gratiano, again, you got to go back and look at it. Every single line he says it's just addressing Shylock as Jew, and he never lands any points. He just like someone says something that moves the plot ahead, and he's just like, "Yeah, Jew."
Yeah.
There's no fucking purpose to the character at all.
Well, that's the thing. Like, even as Shylock has lost by this like imaginary loophole that Portia makes up on the fly,
Loophole.
even as he's
does not apply to whites.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And like as he's leaving, both like I think Bassiano and Gratiano are both just I wish you should fucking hang, dude. Like as he's leaving, they keep talking about hanging him, and it's like what just happened here?
And they're all fucking lecturing Shylock about how Christian charity works, and Gratiano's like, I don't know, man. I'd fucking hang you.
Yeah, that's how.
I'd fucking watch you swing, man. And Gratiano actually, he's looking at Shylock at one point. He's like, man, you make me question my religion because I'm pretty sure some wolf got loose and they fucking hung it, but it's its body and went into your mama's womb when you were born. Everyone's just like, what are you talking about, Gratiano?
Man, there's like I think it's Bassiano says something like you should hang yourself, but you don't even have any money anymore, and you like the state would have to buy the rope and stuff like that. You're like, what is the fuck is going on? Like, you won, just like now it's like again, like when when the bigotry starts, you just can't stop it. Like they're just like they just pile on, until he just leaves the room.
Like, why would the state would have to buy it be a worse insult than you should just fucking hang yourself?
Yeah. You can't even afford the rope, you Jew.
You should fucking hang yourself, and you got a stupid outfit on today, so like you'll look extra dumb when you die and suffocate, and people walk by, and besides like looking at your corpse, they'll be like, those shoes are dumb. So fuck you is what I'm saying, Shylock.
Yeah, it's really like and that's the other like nail in the coffin is the Duke making him say that he'll convert to Christianity. Oh, is like the most humiliating. Like the whole thing is. I couldn't even look at the page anymore. I was like, this is disgusting.
It's fucking awful because they do three things to him. They say, first, we're going to take all your money, and they're like, you know what? Actually, no, we're great people. So first of all, we're not going to take all your money, but you have to give half your money to Antonio, the dumbest fucking capitalist on planet Earth, who made fun of you for being an asshole. You're guilty of, well, I don't know what, but, you're guilty of Portia, like, booby-trapped you into committing a made-up crime. And so now we're taking everything you own, We're giving it half to dumb shit McGee, who never had to worry about anything.
Right.
He went through this whole play pretty goddamn sure his whiteness would show up and save him at some point. And what do you know it did? It did, just like he assumed it did. The other half of your money.
He's the Roger Stone of this world. He's like, I'm not going to jail.
It's gonna be fine. Listen, it works out just fine for people like me. And the other half of your money, you can keep it, but you've gotta turn Christian, and you have to. They do it in two different ways for no fucking reason. Like, A, you got to give your money to that piece of shit who stole your daughter. And secondly, you have to sign a piece of paper that says when you die, you'll give him this money. It's just like, first of all, that's one thing. You were just an asshole enough to say it twice.
It's like the worst. It's the worst humiliation restaurant ever. We have humiliation for you 2 different ways. We have it.
How would you like it? Sorry, we're only serving it anally today. So actually, you have no choice. And so I said before that Shylock kind of disappears here, and I got to say, like, this is the way he kind of like shrinks away is kind of like the way of honorable people who are completely being fucked over by an institution. Like, that's all you have at the end is just like, oh, this is completely without merit. And so my options are to throw a tantrum that will have no effect, or just decide to be like, okay, I understand your decision. Anything else? Okay. Well, okay. And he goes the second path. There's not that much of a difference between them, but like, if you live your life, you'll be in that at some point where you're just like, yeah, this is completely unfair. And okay, I got it. All right.
Yeah, the who everybody else calls this monster inhuman guy is just kind of like, all right, I understand what I'm being like. He doesn't play into any of the stereotypes they set up for him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, and that's what's so frustrating about this whole play.
That's why I can't believe that in the fucking Pacino one they actually had him muttering "my daughter, my ducats," because if that was the guy right now, he would have a 2-page soliloquy. It'd be like, oh, I wish my daughter was 10 times dead. I wish I was dead. I would rather be dead than penniless. Oh, because all the but he doesn't. He's just like, okay. Well, I think that's 30 years of work, and I think that's utterly without merit, and I'm pretty sure you're a lady, probably the lady who's married to me, but I don't have the right to call that out, so...
I bet Shylock got it immediately. He's like, that's a girl wearing a false mustache.
It was the scoop neck shirt that
he's like, none of you other idiots see this? Okay.
That's the promotion. He's just like, I'm gonna lose.
I mean, that's clear.
This is gonna be great.
Yeah, I should probably just pack it in now.
And she's just like, but what about the law? It says you can't win.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. It's like,
you got me there.
What about our Venetian law that says Jews can't win?
What about that law? It's definitely on the books. Can I review the law book? No, you can't. Yeah, I didn't think so.
It's written in white person language.
You wouldn't read it, would you?
You couldn't read it.
Since you're the devil. Yeah, I'm the devil, so.
The devils can't read Christian words.
Yeah, no, that's it. Again, your logic is small man like me can never overcome it, Mr. Man Lawyer. So, great job, sir. You've bested me in all means.
Nice job, lady.
Bassanio's like, that's not a lady. You dumb devil.
Yeah, and speaking of dumb devils, again, like Bassanio and Gratiana are standing there. They're 2 wives, thinly veiled costumes. They don't seem to understand. And this is where the play, takes a turn.
This is where, honestly, I was on board.
Now I'm like, the whole ring thing at the end of the scene is like Portia's already kind of a piece of shit, but then to do this like little prank thing at the end is like, why why are you doing this? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. What, like, so.
Oh, wait, just right before we get there, I want to, just because it's so fucking brutal, I want to read Shylock's last line. And so Duke is saying you're fucked. The Duke says, and he's dead unless Shylock agrees to all terms. The Duke says, he shall do this, or else I do recant the pardon that I late pronounced here. So the Duke just said, you don't have to die if you do this shit. And Portia, masquerading as man lawyer, says, art thou contented, Jew? What dost thou say? And Shylock says, I am content. That's his last fucking line in the play. I am content. It's just like, oh, I'm good. I'm great, guys.
Yeah.
If I had thought about how today was going to go, this is about how I saw it going. I knew it's like, this is a horrible comparison given what's happened to Shylock here, but again, it's like when you know your sports team is just going to fail. It's just like, oh, I know we'd go up 42-0. Fourth, and I know, just 49-42. That sounds right. Nope, I'm good to go. Thanks all. I'm out. And he basically walks out. He's like, all right, no, you guys. I think you guys are gonna do some fucking Three's Company bullshit, so I'm just gonna see myself out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really the strangest end, because his presence, as you say, I mean, it shrinks away, but the Act 5 has nothing to do with him. Like it's almost like, the devil's gone now. Ha ha ha. You know.
Do you remember at the end of Invasion of the Body Snatchers when there weren't hilarious misadventures going out drinking? Or like
right.
At the end of Night of the Living Dead, there wasn't a dance number.
Right.
At the end of Hereditary, there wasn't 20 minutes of a beautiful nature documentary. That's why at the end of the fucking Merchant of Venice, this horror show of anti-Semitism shouldn't be like Jack and the girls, I can't find the ring on Three's Company.
Yeah. Not only that, the girls, just joking about infidelity as well there too a little bit. Oh yeah, and I fucked the guy. What? It's like, what? This play just took a right turn. It's like this play takes such a right turn.
It's
after all this like nonsense, like this awful bigoted.
It is
deal.
It is incomprehensible. It is, again, we were talking about last time about like if you had a producer, it was like this Billy. I want a mishap with a ring, and I want a full act of it. No, I was gonna show Shylock just getting kicked in the ass by kids for an act. No, get this back. I want people happy. Are you sure? Like literally, I got a whole act of people calling him various anti-Semitic slurs and just throwing shit at him. I think they got the point there, Bill.
You can't end on that. You can't. You got to do something else. Act 5.
I want a really stupid farce with a ring, just to drive home what a weird codependent relationship Antonio and Bassanio have. So, last act, as we described, Nerissa and Portia give these rings to their new husbands, and they say, these rings are symbolic of all our love. If you ever lose these rings, you better be fucking dead, because if you give them away, that means you hate us and you hate yourself and our love is nothing. And so for no fucking reason, while they're dressed up as the lawyer's clerk, they're like, well, we just saved your asses, why don't you give us those rings? And they're like, no, they belong to our wives, we're not going to do it. And then they leave, and it seems like the women were testing the men, and the men passed. And they leave, and Antonio's like, dude, you should fucking give them the rings. Antonio says to them, let me read it. He goes, my lord Bassanio, let him have the ring. Let his deservings, and my love withal, be valued against your wife's commandment. It's like, just go tell your wife, I love you, and you should give away the ring. And Bassanio's like, you're right, man. I've got your love. What? My wife's gonna get it. And like
again, Antonio's such a great guy.
Steering people,
just like making the wrong bets on business ventures, borrowing money he doesn't fucking have, and sending his friends on like maybe the worst path in a relationship by giving away a heirloom that their wives said, hey, if you lose this, you die. Like, we're done.
This is
like Antonio's fucking awesome. What a great friend.
It's just he literally says like, give away your wedding ring like 2 days into getting married, but just tell them that I love you. That's what women want to hear. Is that that your relationship with your best friend transcends your love for them.
It's like, again, like it's like people love this guy, and people love Antonio.
Everyone around town is just like, God, I love him so fucking much.
Love him. He he gave me some bad advice once, and it totally ruined my marriage. But yeah, I love Antonio. He's so cool. He does keg stands.
I have to imagine. So we get to Act 5, and they're back in Belmont, and I have to imagine the entire crowd being like, "What the fuck? Why are we back in Belmont? Like, who is this play about? Why should we?" So they get back there, and we can get through this pretty goddamn quick because Lorenzo. The first 25 lines is Lorenzo and Jessica. Jessica, being the daughter of Shylock, just talking about how the night is like legendary, like Grecian heroes in the night or something. And they're like, this night is like when Hercules punched the moon. No, this night is like when Thucydides kicked a serpent in the groin. And it's just terrible. And it goes on with them going back and forth. And you get the feeling that they're just two unlikable people who don't actually know what they're talking about. And then, as you mentioned, Lancelot walks on screen. And the only information I got out of that is like, oh, he's definitely abandoned Shylock because he's in Belmont now. So good. I wanted to see Shylock get kicked in the balls one more time for no reason. But
it's just a reminder.
But there's no character development there. He's just like, I'm Lancelot. I was a clown before.
Goodbye.
Now I'm not.
Exit stage left even. No, like as soon as I started reading, especially like after reading Act 4, the only notes I have are Lorenzo and Jessica's playful banter can go fuck itself. Portia's discussion of the sound of music being relative can go fuck itself. Like the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, who cares about any of this? Why would you care about this? Especially that bigoted audience, Elizabethan times. As soon as Shylock exits, like they're ready to stand up and applaud, you know, and cheer, and then they go into this nonsense. I would have started throwing onions, which they would have done. Elizabethan crowds used to bring produce to shows. It was very common to throw things at the stage.
I give this play 10 onions.
10 of the stinkiest onions you've ever seen.
There's this one melancholy point where Jessica just has one line. Lorenzo is talking about, he's trying to talk, he's using Christian imagery to talk about how beautiful the night is, and these musicians come in, they start playing music, and Jessica just says, I am never merry when I hear sweet music. And it's just this one note of like, oh, she's been talking a good game about like being happy to like screw over her dad and run off with his money and whatnot. It's her last line of the play, and it's just a weird, odd, melancholy note. It's especially odd melancholy because after that, Lorenzo goes right into mansplaining. But what you were just saying, but just like, well, actually, music can mean lots of things. And
I mean, look at animals.
Yeah.
Like, again, like that. What?
Have you ever played the guitar in front of a deer? They fucking love it. No,
blow a trumpet into a horse's ear. They stop dead. No kidding. Me too.
Bebopping and scatting. It's universal, babe. Like you must be. He says at the end. He says, "Well, listen, animals like it, and if you don't like anyone who doesn't like music is fit for treasons, stratagems, and is just basically dull as night." It's like, cool, honey. Maybe I'm just sad about something right now. I don't hear happy music, but I'm glad I'm dumber than a fucking rabbit to you. Cool.
This marriage is gonna go great.
So Portia and Narissa show up, and they fuck with their guys a little bit, and they give them a gift. They're like, "Hey, we got this piece of paper from your dad. It says when he dies, you get the money." It's just like, that's creepy as fuck. Like I've already abandoned my dad and my religion, but thanks for bringing me a note that says when he's dead, I get his money. Okay.
Yeah, and again, Jessica says nothing for the rest of the play. Which is
she's just like, okay.
It's actually very similar to Shylock's kind of sort of fading away too. There's something interesting about that, you know. Again, whether or not Shakespeare intended that, who knows?
Graziano has like two more shitty notes. So the girls try and like bust the boys' balls, and they're being like, so first Nerissa is like, so where's the ring? What? Whoa, I can't. You son of a bitch! You came back without the ring. And Portia makes a big show of like, well, you shouldn't have done that, Graziano, because I'd be pretty angry if Bassanio didn't have his ring. I'd be angry as hell, and I'd raise hell. And Bassanio just like runs right away. He's like, he gave away his ring first. And it's just like, Graziano,
Yeah. I love that Graziano sells him out. That's pretty funny to me.
Well,
he did it first. What?
Muck.
Because again, they're assholes all the way throughout. Like these are not heroes. Like they're not, they're irredeemable, bigoted, awful people.
And Antonio, who everyone says is great, has no role in this last act. He's just like sitting there bemusely, like watching this person say something and watching this person say something. And then like towards the end, he does the same fucking thing where he lets Portia, well, first Portia and Nerissa make jokes about how they were actually fucking the lawyer and the clerk. And the guy's like, oh, does that mean I'm a cuck? It's just like, Christ, you two. Like this is actually, again, you can't put on this fucking play, but if you could, like, that'd be a good last note to have these two idiots be like, does that mean I'm a cuck? Oh man, I'm a cuck.
And
I
the
don't want to be a
fall.
cuck. I'm tired of reading about cucks, man. Here I am, a cuck. I thought if I was mean to a minority, I couldn't be cucked, but I just got cucked, man. Ugh. They seriously say cucked like 5 times. And
to be a cuck, as we know, for people like this, is the absolute worst thing that could happen to you.
Yeah, like so much worse than having people take a legal judgment against you because of your religion. And
right
for your whole life.
Exactly.
But Antonio, this stupid fucking bastard, Bassanio is all sad, so he knows how to solve the problem. He goes to Portia and he's just like, you can trust him. I'll bet my life on it. You have complete control of my body because I swear nothing will happen to that ring again, or else you can do whatever you want to me. It's just like, you just do this at a drop of a hat, don't you? They had to fucking get on a ship and come here and save your ass. And as soon as Bassanio's in a little bit of trouble, you're like, I know how I'll solve it. I'll offer myself up for torture because I'm mentally retarded. And the only way I know how to solve problems is to offer myself up for torture to my boy crush. And
it really is a boy crush. It has to be.
Yeah, it's, again, you could cast them as like too dumb to understand what's going on there, but it essentially is. And as you mentioned over a text message, it literally ends the same way as Caddyshack with Graziano in the Rodney Dangerfield role. Let me read his last soliloquy. It says, "Let it be so. The first interrogatory that my Nerissa shall be sworn on is whether till the next sight she had rather stay," because they're in this weird time. It's like 4 a.m. and like the sun's starting to come up, so they're trying to decide, should we go to bed or should we stay out? Whether till the next night she had rather stay, or go to bed now, being 2 hours today. But were the day to come, I would wish it dark, till I were couching with the doctor's clerk. Because she was dressed up like the clerk, and he wishes it was nighttime so he could go fuck the clerk.
Yep.
Just like some bad way to end.
Should we go to bed or bang, baby?
It's not banging right now. That guy we fucking defrauded of all his fucking funds, even though you're terrible at business. Oh.
Yes. That is how this anti-Semitic play ends, is a guy saying, I think we should fuck. The end. That is how this play ends.
It's the guy, it's not even the fucking guy in the like well-cast broad shouldered role. It's the guy, like, Graziano is cast by Jonah Hill. Like, that's who he is.
Yeah.
And he's just like, hey, let's go fucking fuck. Whoa.
That's perfect. That's a perfect casting.
Oh my God. It's
it's like, I mean, I think I mentioned at the beginning of that I don't think I've ever read this whole thing. I've only maybe read the famous bits, but I don't like it.
My advice would be don't. We read this in my Shakespeare class in the 90s, and I would tell a professor to stay the fuck away from it. I can't imagine standing before anyone who says this is unadulterated trash and being like, well, if you look like, no, like,
Yeah.
I'm nervous to put this podcast online. Like,
Yeah, it's just
woo.
like not a like it's definitely I don't know. The more because I as I think like when we first dealt with this play, I looked up Elizabethan culture and how familiar they were with Judaism and stuff like that, and they wouldn't have known much about it. You know what I mean?
No,
Like it wasn't something that was around them.
I did the same Google search today, and because there had been an anti-Semitic expelling of Jews in the 1200s, there were, in theory, no Jewish people in the UK at that point.
Yeah.
Or obviously, it's not the UK then, but it's just like it's like in modern times when people decide to be scared of like a group they just can't possibly understand, like Somalian refugees. Just like, oh, you're
Right.
scared of Somalian refugees? I would love if you would point Somalia on the map to me. That'd be great, since you're such an expert on why we should fear these people. Where. Let's start with the continent. Which continent do you think it is? That's Mexico. That's Mexico. No.
Still Mexico.
Lower Mexico. The Baja? No, that's Baja. It's not Somalia.
This is one of the
You're right. It's like a Fox News play where they were just like, we're gonna make a play about like Fox News's ideas. Like, do you remember like 10 years ago they tried to make Black Panthers a thing on Fox News, where they were like, Black Panthers are like they're back. You'll see them at Walmart's outside LA. They're like 6 guys, and they got like a year out of it.
Wow, I didn't know. Unfortunately, I only see Fox News stuff through memes. So it's like the Tucker's reaction kind of. That's all I know.
Stupid face. Yeah, but any of those imagined enemies, like it's like that, where it's just like, hey, people seem to be scared about this thing they don't fucking understand. What if we were to play about that, and then we fucking throw onions at him midway through? Like,
it's shocking. But then there's so many things that make it frustrating, because Shakespeare writes Shylock making good points.
Yeah,
and it's hard to reconcile that.
I think it makes me feel like. So I was saying Shylock sounds like a Mammoth character almost. And what I mean by that is, like, the words come out of his mouth are very modern. And I felt the same way about Shrew, where it's just like, Catherine is using logic that we understand. Shylock's using logic that we understand. And everyone else is just like, well, you're just a retired woman, aren't you?
Yeah.
None of this makes sense, and you're feeding me mustard. I can't fucking.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I guess it must be that time of the month, huh, Catherine? There's no time of the month where I can eat mustard, dude. Just.
And it's like again, how much credit do you give him? Like, would Shakespeare have been capable to write a play that comments on that kind of xenophobic hysteria? Like, would he have been able to do that? He himself,
It's
being submerged in that society. Like, I don't know. Like, I really don't. It's hard.
Yeah, I got something really dark for you. What if, like, the best way to create a WWE character that you can throw onions at is to, like, have the professor or have, the Hollywood character, like, say the truth?
Yeah.
And then just, like,
Yeah.
set up an everyman to be like, oh, you bet you think you're so fucking smart, don't you? You're not so smart now with a 2x4 in your fucking head, are you? Like,
Yeah.
just have them plainly say the truth, and, like, the stuff that, like, we don't want to, like, engage with. And, like,
I think that's exactly it.
That's,
I think that's
fun. Like, have someone, like, think they can just say the truth, then just watch someone hit them in the fucking face with a weapon.
Yeah.
It's good television.
Well, you're right. That's WWE style stuff. That's what, like Ric Flair talking down to people who don't have money. That's what it is. Here's the reality. This watch costs more than your house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, and that causes anger. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's what it is Shylock is making great points and criticizing the backwards society in which we all live. And Shakespeare knows these people are not going to like that.
What if for the production you actually put it in the ring and the Duke was wearing a ref's outfit. And they just like get his attention, and Portia just has a chair. And she's just like, guess what? You're not white.
If you prick us, do we not bleed?
Oh, he's getting invulnerable with white resentment. Oh, there's no legal argument with white resentment. Once the Hulkster starts hulking out.
Yeah, that's what it is. Let me tell you something, brother. I'm white and Christian, and that's all that matters.
You're the devil. All the Hulkamaniacs know who the devil is. Okay? It's this guy, okay? And I got good news. In our country, you can't do anything against someone who's white. So here's what's going to happen.
I've got good news. I've got good news for you.
42-inch pythons can't be hurt.
Are you white and straight? Are you white, straight, and Christian? I've got good news.
I'm a real American. There's a special law that says you can't hurt me. Section 12, Item 1, any attempt against a, quote, real American.
I am a real Venetian.
Fights for the right of every man. Asterisk, not Jews.
Many Jews were hurt in the making of this.
Oh, well, I'm glad we plumbed new depths of darkness on that.
The Merchant of Venice. Oh, you know what? There are a few lines, though, that I thought that made me laugh a little. Portia, when she first comes in as the fake lawyer doctor. Yeah. I'm a doctor and also a lawyer. She says to her, like, one of her first questions is, which is the merchant and which is the Jew?
Yeah, exactly. I'm so fucking simple that I was like, I'm going to Google what is a merchant, and it's just like anyone who sells something. So I'm just like, it's just like, okay, so it's like if you walked into I don't know, it's just absurd to be like, Shylock is clearly a merchant.
He is also a merchant, right?
Yeah. It's just like,
that should have been the subtitle of the play, Merchant of Venice, which is the merchant and which is the Jew.
Like, again, it'd be fun for the stage direction for Shylock to be like, who's the merchant? Who's the Jew? Oh.
So,
like,
should I keep my hands up?
Goes down. Who's the merchant? Oh. Okay, I know.
I
know how this is going. I can tell I already prepped way too much for this trial. That's your first question.
He's got a big stack of papers that he brought with him, and as soon as that happens, he just kind of pushes them off the table into the trash can.
I'm ready.
I'm not going to need any of those. I think I'm going to jail.
His response to everything would be like, no, I'll stick to my bond. What about this? No, I'll stick to my bond.
I'll take the bond.
Why the other sharpening your knife? No reason. I'm fine. Stick to my bond. But yeah, like the whole time he's just like, yeah, no, okay. Yeah, you're right. All right, I'm content. Later.
Yeah, bye. I know when I've been totally overwhelmed with the social bigotry. I'm just gonna fucking fold right into the wave. Like there's nothing else to do.
Because she says who's the merchant first, so you could both go hands up, and who is the Jew, and put his hand down, and then you could just give him like a 5-second sigh, and you're just he knows where.
I got you. I caught you. You're the Jew.
All right.
Oh, Billy, this place certainly is problematic. However, in his defense, and speaking strictly from over 400 years ago, people tended to write and form opinions about topics they knew nothing about all the time. We can only hope that the human tendency to paint those we fear and are ignorant of in the worst possible light and then drive those stereotypes into the ground for centuries will fade out by the time you're listening to this, dear Knuckleheads. Right? We don't do that anymore, do we? Why are you all blushing and avoiding eye contact? Oh, ta-ta for now.